Hi. So I read a book and I absolutely loved it because it made me cry for 2 whole days. This book is a harsh reality of what is happening in Afghanistan with women. And I know you've already guessed the name of this book. I know you've already read it many years ago, but what I did, I picked it up 6 years ago. I started reading it, kept reading it, kept reading it. I always look for some sort of hope, some sort of light in the end of the tunnel, but I couldn't find it, so I dropped it. And after some years, my friend told me that she has read this book and she absolutely loved it. I thought, why not? I have the book, let me just give it a shot once again. The only character that I had met back then was Mariam, and I couldn't meet Leila back then. So I started the book once again and I started reading. Kept reading, kept crying. Every single page has my tears because the situation hasn't changed a bit. Women are protesting with footballs, with their favorite sports, that they really want to go outside, show it to the world that they can also do everything that any other woman is doing. They're capable, they have the potential. That's what made me cry, and that's what breaks my heart till date. Before we dive into this video, I will like to tell you that Jaleel is going to live with that guilt even after he died. Mariam will never know what was there in the letter, and Leila will always remember Mariam in her heart. So, this book is about guilt. This book is about suffering of women, not just women, but civilians, normal families suffering, and there is a lot of war, there is a lot of violence. If you are somebody with a very soft heart and you think that this might not be the right time for you, do not read it. But if you feel that you really need to read and you really need to know the reality, you must pick it up if you really care about the other humans in the world. And this book is about the guilt that Jalil couldn't express. This book is about friendship. This book about is about families. It's almost everything that I ever needed to read. That's the very reason I haven't skipped a single page in this book. So let's just dive into this video and the book as well. Let me read the introduction for you guys. Mariam is only 15 when she is sent to Kabul to marry the troubled and bitter Rashid, who is 30 years her senior. Nearly 2 decades later, in a climate of growing unrest, tragedy strikes 15-year-old Leila, who must leave her home and join Mariam's unhappy household. Leila and Mariam are to find consolation in each other. Their friendship to grow as deep as the bond between sisters, as strong as the ties between mother and daughter. And let me tell you, this is the very reason I read it till the very end. I loved the way their friendship formed. Not suddenly, not immediately. It happened one by one with a teacup, with just conversations, and it was beautiful. With the passing of times comes Taliban rule over Afghanistan, the streets of Kabul loud with the sound of gunfire and bombs, life a desperate struggle against starvation, brutality and fear, the women's endurance tested beyond their worst imaginings, yet love can move a person to act in unexpected ways. That's true. Lead them to overcome the most daunting obstacles with a startling heroism. In the end, it is love that triumphs over death and destruction. A Thousand Splendid Suns is an unforgettable portrait of a wounded country and a deeply moving story of family and friendship. It is a beautiful, heart-wrenching story of an unforgiving time, an unlikely bond, and an indestructible love. And this book is about love as well. So let's begin and dive into this video because I am not going to tell you everything. I want you to read it yourself and know and feel what I'm feeling. But I will tell you wherever I found it interesting. So let's go to page 149 first. No, Lala was actually friends with Hasina and Giti. So we're going to read about that. I don't know if we are pronouncing it as Giti or Giti. So by the time we're 20, Hasina used to say, Giti and I will have pushed out 4 to 5 kids each. But you, Lela, you'll make us two dummies proud. You're going to be somebody I know one day. I'll pick up a newspaper and find your picture on the front page. Whether Lela makes it or not, you will only get to know once you read the book. So this is something that struck me when I thought about it. There are so many women suffering for their daily bread. Is Leila going to make it or not? There was one more part of the story that actually struck me when Mariam was at her father's door and he was actually looking at her from the windows. She could recognize him, but she saw that his father was not interested. He did not come down. He um, asked his driver to tell Mariam that he has left for business. He's not at home. So that was a very heartbreaking moment for me. Okay, and the second time it hit me when it was Jeeti's Fatiha because the day after the killings, Leila sat stunned in a room full of weeping women. This was the first time that someone whom Leila had known, been close to, loved, and had died because her close friend had died. This was one of the very heartbreaking moments for me. Okay, so this is the conversation between the police officer Lala and Mariam, and I was so shocked that women are not enemies to women, but men are absolutely. Not all men, but of course, always men. In spite of her distraught state, Leila almost laughed. She was stunned that he'd used that word in the face of all that Mujahideen functions had done: the murders, the lootings, the rapes, the tortures, the executions, the bombings, the tens of thousands rockets they had fired at each other, headless of all innocent people who would die in the crossfire order, but she bit her tongue. Now, if you send us back, she said instead, slowly, there is no saying what he will do to us. So this is Leila telling the police officer that's not fair what he's doing. She could see the effort it took him to keep his eyes from shifting. What a man does in his home is his business. So in those days, I don't know if now what's the situation, but in those days it was uh, not right. I mean, it was prohibited for women to move without men. And you will, when once you read the book, you will realize that the man who Leila and Mariam trusted also betrayed them and did not support them. Otherwise, there would be a happy ending on this book. Before we go to the 300s, it would be a happy ending on page 236 only. Okay, so the police officer says, as a matter of policy, we do not interfere with private family matters. It is also a private family matter, sir, that you cannot ask two women where they are going. But the situation was very different. Of course you don't when it benefits the men. That's what Leila says. She was a smart woman, and she's the character I absolutely adore. After Mariam. As a matter of policy, we do not interfere with private family matters, Hamshira. Of course you don't when it benefits the men, Leila says, and this isn't a private family matter, as you say. This is a private family matter, as you say. Lala said this to the police officer. Now the police officer is absolutely confused. He knows that he is wrong, but still, the men. Now the police officer would just say, I believe this interview is finished. You can go. Okay, so these are the rules that Taliban had imposed on people. You will stay inside your homes at all times. It is not proper for women to wander aimlessly about the streets. If you go outside, you must be accompanied by a mahram, a male relative. If you are caught alone on the street, you will be beaten and sent home. You will not, in any circumstance, show your face. You will cover with burqa when outside. If you do not, you will be severely beaten. Cosmetics are forbidden. Jewelry is forbidden. You will not wear charming clothes. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not make eye contact with men. You will not laugh in public. You do not. You will be. If you do, you will be beaten. If you will not paint your nails. If you do, you will lose a finger. Girls are forbidden from attending school at all schools. All school for girls will be immediately closed. Women are forbidden from working. If you are found guilty of adultery, you will be stoned to death. Listen, and obey well. Allahu Akbar. This is what they have written. These are all about women. They do not care if the men are wrong, if there are rapists in the country, if there is crime in the country. They do not care about anything. There's a lot more that I almost forgot for women. For boys, All boys will wear turbans. Boys in grade 1 through 6 will wear black turbans. Higher grades will wear white. All boys will wear Islamic clothes. Short collars will be buttoned. Singing is forbidden. Dancing is forbidden. Playing cards, playing chess, gambling, and kite flying are forbidden. Writing books, watching films, and painting pictures are forbidden. That's what keeps people alive. That's art. And they are saying that everything is forbidden. If you keep parakeets, you will be beaten. Your birds will be killed. If you steal, your hands will be cut off at the wrist. If you steal again, your foot will be cut off. If you are not Muslim, you do not worship where you can be seen by Muslims. If you do, you will be beaten and imprisoned. If you are caught trying to convert to a Muslim to your faith, you will be executed. These are the rules. Laila and Mariam are having a conversation, and Mariam and Laila both know very well what is going to happen right now. Mariam, please, Laila says. When they do, they'll find you as guilty as me. Tariq too. I won't have the two of you living on the run like fugitives. What will happen to your children if you are caught? Laila's eyes brimming and stinging. Who will take care of them? The Taliban? Think like a mother, Laila Jo. Think like a mother. I am, says Mariam. I cannot tell you how forgiving, how sacrificing Mariam was. I feel so sorry for her. I wanted an ending for Mariam the way Laila had an ending. I wanted her to go back to her kolba and, in any way just relive the nostalgia once again. Then Lala says, I can't. Mariam says, you have to. It isn't fair, Lala croaked, but it is. Come here and lie. Lala crawled to her and again put her head on Mariam's lap. She remembered all the afternoons they had spent together braiding each other's hair. Mariam listening patiently to her random thoughts and ordinary stories with an air of gratitude, with the expression of a person to whom a unique and coveted privilege had been extended. It is fair, Mariam said. I've killed our husband. I've deprived your son of your father of his father. It isn't right that I run. I can't. Even if they never catch us, I'll never. Her lips trembled. I'll never escape your son's grief. How do I look at him? How do I even bring myself to look at him? Lala Jo, Mariam twiddled a strand of hair. Lala's hair untangled. A stubborn curl. For me, it ends here. There's nothing more I want. Everything I'd ever wished for you. But as a little girl you've already given me. You and your children have made me so very happy. It's alright, Lala Jo. This is alright. Don't be sad. So this is what Mariam told her. Mariam's character has been one of my favorite characters of all time. There's one more part I think I forgot to write about it. The one where finally Mariam and Laila finally became friends. Like one fine day they sat in the balcony and they shared tea. Laila always wanted to be friends with Mariam. She always wanted to share things with her, but Mariam always felt a need to get away from her because she felt like Laila is stealing her husband from her. Laila was stealing the basic amenities that she had in her house. So and once Laila actually showed up for Mariam, she felt the need to keep showing up for Laila again and again, over and again. Okay, guys, this story does have a happy ending, but I cannot actually say that it is a perfect happy ending because happy ending doesn't necessarily mean it's a happy ending for all the characters in the book. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to read the letter that Jalil had written for Mariam. I'm really not sure, but if I wouldn't read it, I feel like this video would be incomplete. So you guys have to know this is how grief and guilt speak. When they're all together and there's a lot of suffering for a long time, that's how grief will be spoken to people. The letter from Jalil read 13th May 1987. My dear Mariam, I pray that this letter finds you in good health. As you know, I came to Kabul a month ago to speak with you, but you would not see me. I was disappointed but could not blame you. In your place, I might have done the same. I lost the privilege of your good graces a long time ago, and for that, I only have myself to blame. But if you are reading this letter, then you have read this letter. Then you have read this letter that I left at your door. You have read it and you have come to see Mullah Fazullah as I had asked that you do. I'm grateful you did, Mariam Jo. I'm grateful for this chance to say a few words to you. Where do I begin? Your father has known so much sorrow since we last spoke, Mariam Jo. Your stepfather Afsoon was killed on the first day of the 1979. Your stepmother Afsoon was killed on the first day of the 1979 uprising. A stray bullet killed your sister Nilofar. That same day, I can still see her, my little Nilofar, doing handstands to impress guests. Your brother Farhad joined the jihad in 1980. The Soviets killed him in 1982, just outside of Helmand. I never got to see his body. I don't know if you have children of your own, Marinju, but if you do, I pray that God look after them and spare you the grief that I've known. I still dream of them. I still dream of my dread children. Their children. I have dreams of you too, Marinju. I miss you. I miss the sound of your voice, your laughter. I miss you, miss reading to you. And all those times we fished together. Do you remember all those times we fished together? You were a good daughter, Mariam Jo, and I cannot ever think of you without feeling shame and regret. Regret when it comes to you, Mariam Jo. I have oceans of it. I regret that I did not see you the day you had. I did not see you the day you had come to Herat. I regret that I did not open the door and take you in. I regret that I did not make you a daughter to me, that I let you live in that place for all those years. And for what fear of losing face, of staining my so-called good name. How little those things matter to me now. All the loss, all the troubling, terrible things I've seen in this cursed war. But now, of course, it is too late. Perhaps this is just punishment for all, for those who have been heartless, to understand only when nothing can be undone. Now, all I can do is say that you were a good daughter, Marinjo, and that I never deserved you. All that I can say is ask for your forgiveness. So forgive me, Marinjo. Forgive me, forgive me. I'm not the wealthy man you once knew. The communist confiscated so much of my land and all of my stores as well, but it is petty to complain for God for reasons that I do not understand. Has still blessed me with with far more than the most people. Since my return from Kabul, I've managed to sell what little remained of my land. I have enclosed for you your share of inheritance. You can see it is far from a fortune, but it is something. It is something. You will also notice that I have taken the liberty of exchanging the money to dollars. I think it is for the best. God alone knows the fate of our own beloved currency. I hope you do not think that I am trying to buy your forgiveness. I hope you will get me with knowing that your forgiveness is not for sale. It never was. I am merely giving you, if belatedly, what was rightfully yours all along. I was not a dutiful father to you in life. Perhaps in death I can be. Ah, death, I won't burden you with details, but death is within sight for me now. Work hard, the doctors say. It is a fitting matter of death, I think, for a weak man. Mariam Jo, I dare allow myself the hope that after you read this, you will be more charitable to me than I was to you, that you might find it in your heart to come to see your father, that you will knock on my door one more time and give me the chance to open this time. To welcome you, to take you in my arms, my daughter, as I should have all those years. It is a hope as weak as my heart. This I know, but I think I will be waiting, be listening for your knock. I'll be hoping. May God grant you a long and prosperous life, my daughter. May God give you many healthy and beautiful children. May you find the happiness, peace, and acceptance that I did not give you. Be well. I leave you in the loving hands of God, your understanding father. Sorry, your undeserving father. That's what he wrote, Jalil. I absolutely agree. He was an undeserving father, and I absolutely agree that he had guilt and he had to get rid of the guilt. But I think neither Mariam nor Jalil, both of us, never got to understand each other, and both of them died with the same guilt. Mariam had the guilt of not reading the letter, and his father had the guilt of not being able to speak to Mariam when he went to meet her to Kabul. Guys, this book is so heavy that it took me 2 days to process everything. But at the same time, this book is beautiful. Khalid Hosseini has written it with such eloquence, with such emotions. The book and the characters have portrayed it beautifully. So you must give it a read. And this was it in today's video. Once again, Mariam did what she was being told to. So I hope you liked the video and you like the book as well. If you do, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video and in the next book review. Bye bye, take care.